Hag Sameach Pesach. Happy Passover, everyone. I am Barry Weinstein, honored and privileged and very blessed to be Rabbi of Temple Sinai in Lake Charles. And I welcome all of you to our second virtual Seder. I don't want to say annual, because Mirz Hashem, with God's help, we shall be in our beautiful restored sanctuary for Passover 5782, God willing. And we just might continue Zooming, and I hope that we will actually be able to Zoom while we do have our services in our sanctuary. I am so grateful that y'all can be with me this evening and with Linda, who will be joining me in a little bit as we celebrate this eve of Pesach 5781, 2021. We made it. We got through 12 months of COVID and some 9 or so months of restoration and recovery and repair from the hurricanes in 2020. And we have so much with which we are blessed on this particular Passover. Passover historically, of course, marks the exodus of our ancestors from slavery in Egypt. And for us, I certainly hope and pray that this Pesach will mark the beginning of our exodus as a world, and certainly for us in Greater Lake Charles, from servitude, if you will, to this COVID-19 virus. We pray for everyone, and we certainly trust and hope that this Passover will help usher in a better time for us all. We have our Seder plate arranged, and for those of you who are participating in this virtual Seder experience, we will proceed through the whole Seder liturgy, minus the meal, and then we can all enjoy our meal, God willing, with our families and friends at home. And I'm so pleased to have the Haggadah that we have been following for years in Temple Sinai. It is the Baskin Haggadah, and I'll be mentioning pages and so forth as we go through the service. And I'm so pleased that Shauna can be with us. Happy Passover to Shauna in Lafayette. And Lisa is here also. And got all those glasses set up already, so we are okay for this. Thank you, dear. And we are about to begin. That's for you. Okay. And this is Miriam's cup. This is Kos Eliyahu. I see that. And there's salt water. So okay. These are extra. And everything is fine. The eggs are being roasted in the oven. So if you would please turn to page number 21 in the Haggadah, and we shall begin. Now in the presence of loved ones and friends, before us the emblems of festive rejoicing, we gather for our sacred celebration. With the household of Israel, our elders and young ones, linking and bonding the past with the future, we heed once again the divine call to service, living our story that is told for all peoples, whose shining conclusion is yet to unfold. We gather to observe the Passover, as it is written, Ushmartem et hamatzot, ki be'etzem hayom hazeh hotzeti et tzivotechem me'eretz Mitzrayim, Ushmartem et hayom hazeh l'dorotechem chukat olam. You shall keep the feast of unleavened bread, for on this very day I brought your host out of Egypt. You shall observe this day throughout the generations as a practice for all times. We assemble in fulfillment of the mitzvah, Zachor et hayom hazeh asher yitzartem mitzrayim mibeit avadim, ki b'chozek yad hotzi Adonai etchem mizeh. Remember the day on which you went forth from Egypt, from the house of bondage, and how the Lord freed you with a mighty hand. And so we go now to page 22, and I'm going to assist Linda for the blessing of the festival candles. I'm going to light this candle, which we can use to light those candles.
Take this out and light it.
Yeah, I'll let you do it, but first, there's a little reading. I'm going to change the camera. And here's Linda. Here are the candles. And I went to B'nai Israel gift shop a couple days ago, and I bought 2 beautiful Shabbos festival candlesticks. And I think they look pretty good.
Pretty good.
Okay, here you go. And you can read this up here. We're on page 22, please.
Happy are those of steadfast faith who still can bless the light of candles shining in the darkness. Rejoice, O earth, and those who keep the way, for there is still song for them within you.
Okay, yeah, do that.
May the festival lights we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, O God of freedom. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Yom Tov, Yom Tov. In praising God, we say that all life is sacred. In kindling festive lights, we preserve life's sanctity. With every holy light we kindle, the world is brightened to a higher harmony. We praise you, God, majestic sovereign of all life, who hallows our lives with commandments and bids us kindle festive holy light.
Amen.
Amen.
Hag Sameach.
Sameach to everybody.
I see that Caleb has joined us. Good Yontif, Caleb. So glad you can be with us. And we continue now, please, with Kiddush. We are on page number 24. Page 24. And that's yours, Linda, there. This is mine. We take up the Kiddush cup and proclaim the holiness of this day of deliverance. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol am v'romamanu mikol lashon, v'kichanu b'mitzvotav. V'titein lanu Adonai Eloheinu b'ahava, moadim l'simcha, chagim uzmanim l'sason, et yom chag hamatzot hazeh zaman cherutenu, mikra kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim, kivanu v'acharta v'yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim, Umoade Kotshacha, Besimcha Sason Hin Chaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh Yisrael v'hazmanim. We praise you, God, sovereign of existence. You have called us for service from among the peoples and have hallowed our lives with commandments. In love, you have given us festivals for rejoicing, seasons of celebration, this festival of Matzot, the time of our freedom, a commemoration of the exodus from Egypt. Praised are you, O Lord our God, who gave us this joyful heritage and who sanctifies Israel and the festivals. Amen. L'chaim. We continue now with Karpas, rebirth and renewal. And I'm glad to see that Caleb is here. Good Yontif, Caleb, and George is with us, and Miranda is here. How wonderful. Great to have you, Miranda. I hope this finds you and your parents, all family, doing well. I'm so pleased that Miranda can join us this evening. And I think Miranda might be in Lafayette. I'm not sure. Miranda and her parents, Lee and Michelle Schwalben, have had to evacuate since many months ago, like so many of us. And I feel that Linda and I and Amy and Sandy Dog are also evacuating in our condo here in Baton Rouge. So we share this in common. Thanks, Miranda. I see, yes, that you are in Lafayette. And Caleb, please let us know your location, if you will, please. I'm not sure I know exactly where you happen to be. And George, I'm so glad you are with us. Like our daughter Amy, George is having a reaction to the second shot. And Amy sends love and hugs to us all. And perhaps Sandy can drop by during our Seder to wish us all a good Yontif. So we continue now with Karpas, rebirth and renewal. And Linda, if you'd like to come over here to be with me as we get ourselves situated a little bit.
Situated. This is yours.
Okay, that's mine. Right, we'll put it right over here. A little bit of stage management here. You could read in the spring of the year. Linda's reading toward the middle of page 25, please.
In the spring of the year, the season of rebirth and renewal, on the festival of Pesach, we read from the Song of Songs, the poetry of nature and of love, evokes as well the love between God and the people Israel and their covenant betrothal. Arise, my beloved, my fair one, and come away. For lo, the winter is past, flowers appear on the earth. The time of singing is here. The song of the dove is heard in our land. Let us go down to the vineyards to see if the vines have budded. There will I give you my love.
And now we take some of our greens and dip them in salt water. And we have fresh parsley here. And we have salt water right here. So I'll borrow the Haggadah and put it over here. And here's the salt water. And here is a sprig of parsley, fresh and green. And I hope you're able to have a sprig of green, of something green, as we say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri ha'adama. Praised are you, O God, sovereign of the universe, who creates the fruit of the earth. And we dip in the salt water. The salt water reminds us of the tears our people shed in slavery, in servitude in Egypt. Doing a little more stage management here, so Linda can be in the picture. And we'll just set these over here. Now we're going to slide together. And there is my bride. I wanted to mention Glenn is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Miranda's in Lafayette. George is in Lake Charles. Not sure of Caleb's location. Lisa, I'm not sure if you're still in the Northwest or back in Southwest Louisiana. And Shauna's in Lafayette. So we are spread around a little bit, Baruch Hashem, thank God. Now we go to Yachatz, page 26, a bond formed by sharing. So here is our matzah. Our matzah cover and everything that we had so nice last year has all been packed, thinking that we wouldn't need them again this year. So I'm going to take out, let's see, there it is. I'm going to take out the middle matzah, and I'll let Linda break it in half. And we'll put that half back in. And here is a napkin to wrap up the half that we took from the middle matzah. So we have broken the middle matzah, and we can seal one half as afikomen. Later, we will share it as in days of old, the Passover offering itself was shared at this service in Jerusalem. Among people everywhere, sharing of bread forms a bond of fellowship.
For the sake of our redemption, we say together the ancient words which join us with our own people and with all who are in need, with the wrongly imprisoned and the beggar in the street. For our redemption is bound up with the deliverance from bondage of people everywhere.
And these beautiful words in Aramaic are, we believe, the oldest part of the Seder meal itself. And I'd like to hold a little of the matzah. Ha-lach ma'anya. That means this here. This is the bread of affliction. Ha-lach ma'anya. Diachalu avataha ba'ara dimitzrayim. Kol dekvin yete v'yehu. Kol detzarich yete v'yifsach. Hashata hacha l'shana haba'a ba'ara de Yisrael. Hashata avdei l'shana haba'a v'nei chorim. This is the bread of affliction, the poor bread, which our fathers ate in the land of Egypt. Let all who are hungry come and eat. Let all who are in want share the hope of Passover. As we celebrate here, we join with our people every year.
This year we celebrate here, next year in the land of Israel. Now we are all still bondmen. Next year may all be free.
Amen. I hope you've been noticing the beautiful watercolors. This Haggadah, known as the Baskin Haggadah, the drawings are by Leonard Baskin, and I just think they are magnificent. Some of us might have the coffee table edition, which is so much larger, and especially with the watercolor prints, just beautiful. Now we come to Motzi Matzah Maror. We're on page 28. Lisa in Colorado. I forget exactly your location, but as I've probably mentioned before, our younger daughter and her husband and their kids, their two daughters, are in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. If you're anywhere near there, I can send you their contact info. I'm sure they'd really love to hear from you as I rearrange a little bit more. Okay. The uppermost of the three matzah is broken. We have it broken and distributed among our group. So would you distribute among our group, please, darling? Thank you. Oh, my plate. Linda really prepared everything so well. This is my plate. You want to show your plate?
Show my fork.
Good. My wife is blessed with the best sense of humor. So we take the matzah in our hand and we say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We praise you, O Lord our God, sovereign of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth. That's the general motzi for bread and food and so forth. But now we make it specific. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat matzah. We praise you, O God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows our lives with commandments, who has commanded us regarding the eating of matzah. And we take a piece of matzah. And if we haven't had matzah before Passover,
We eat it.
yes, we eat it. And if we haven't had matzah before Passover, it's the first time we've had matzah. Of course, some of us may have had a little matzah before Pesach, but I'm not saying any names.
Some years, it's a tradition that I take a little piece of matzah before Passover to make sure that everything on the box is okay. Right?
You're the best.
Yes.
Kissy, kissy. Now we take a bit of horseradish. And as we get ready to do that, where's the root? Did you put it away?
This right here, this huge thing.
Yeah.
There
Here's
it
our
is.
root. We got this root from Kosher Cajun Deli in Metairie. And can you take a whiff of it? Mmm. Mmm. And I don't know if that's my phone or your phone. Okay. So now we take a little bit of horseradish. Thank you. And we put it on the matzah. And we say the blessing that you have in your book toward the middle of the page. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat maror. We praise you, O God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows our lives through commandments, who has commanded us regarding the eating of maror. Here we go. Mm.
Hang on to your nose.
Mm.
You got a big piece.
Is that bitter?
Woo.
The bitterness of slavery.
Mhm.
Now, Korach, continuity with past tradition. I'll let Linda help me with the reading. Preserving a bond.
Preserving a bond with the observance of our ancestors, we follow a practice of Hillel from the time when temple stood. He combined the matzah and the maror and ate them together, so that he might observe the precept handed down to him, exactly as his father before him. They shall eat the paschal lamb with matzah and maror together.
Together they shall be, the matzah of freedom, the maror of slavery. For in the time of freedom there is knowledge of servitude, and in the time of bondage, the hope of redemption. And we have the custom from long ago of having maror and karoset between two pieces of matzah. And Linda prepared a beautiful karoset. And okay, so.
There's also a container over there.
Oh yeah, look at this.
It'd be easier to
Yes,
get a hold of. Yeah,
it's beautiful karoset. This is, you got that?
Yes.
So the karoset combined with the maror is a reminder of bitterness and sweetness so often come into our lives, often almost simultaneously. So we put a little maror with the karoset and hit the karoset more.
You need more horseradish?
Oh, it's great. I love it. George is going to save his maror. You took my line, George, until tomorrow. He's not having his maror today. He's saving it for tomorrow. Very good. I like that, George. And Lisa, I forgot. Thank you for reminding us you're in Pueblo, in Colorado Springs, and then back to Sulphur. And thank you for the speedy healing wishes for Amy and for everyone in need. And so glad that George apparently is feeling well enough to join us this evening with his very good humor.
Want some more maror? Or are you going to wait till tomorrow?
It's a great line.
It's good. Thank you, George.
I might note that if you have the Sagada, in the beginning is explanation for all of the symbols on the Seder plate, including this recipe for karoset. Apples, peeled and chopped, fine or grated. This is on page 15, with chopped walnuts or pecans, to which chopped or mashed raisins, dates, prunes, or apricots may be added, and cinnamon and wine to taste. So now we continue with the 4 questions. Fir kasha, we say in Yiddish. We will go young and old. We will go with our sons and our daughters, for we must observe the Lord's festival. So it was said before the first Passover observance. To this day, our children continue to join in our observance. And if you'd like to join with Linda and me, numbers 8 and 9 in the musical sections toward the back, which is on, let's see which version we like. I think we'll go with 103, page 103, the Manish Tana. And please join. Manish Tana halayla hazeh mikol halelo shebecho halelo lanu ochlin kametsu matzah halayla hazeh kulo matzah shebecho halelo lanu ochlin sha'ar yirakot halayla hazeh maror shebecho halelot ein anu matbilin afilu pam echad halayla hazeh shetef amin shebecho halelot anu ochlin vein yoshvinu vein misubin halayla hazeh kulanu misubin. I didn't get the pillow for us to lie down on. And now we read the English, and Linda can read for us of the 4 questions.
Why is this night different from all other nights? On all other nights, we eat either leavened bread or matzah. On this night, only matzah. On all other nights, we eat all kinds of herbs. On this night, we especially eat bitter herbs. On all other nights, we do not dip herbs at all, On this night, we dip them twice. On all other nights, we eat in an ordinary manner. Tonight, we dine with special ceremony.
Thank you, Linda. Here are the 4 children, and we also are taught that the 4 children are really 4 aspects of our own selves, our own personalities, and our own soul, if you will, our own characteristics. 4 times the Torah bids us tell our children of the Exodus from Egypt. 4 times the Torah repeats, "And you shall tell your child on that day." From this, our tradition infers that there are different kinds of people. To each we respond in a different manner according to his question, his situation, and his need. Well, if we were together, we could invite one of y'all to be the wise person. I don't know if anyone wants to go on to live chat and volunteer to be the wise person. And thank you, Caleb, for saying you're in Lake Charles, and God willing, you and I and Linda, we'd be able to meet, hopefully sooner than later. Well, Linda is very wise, and she's going to read the wise person.
The wise person asks, "What are the precepts, laws, and observances which the Lord our God commanded us?" To him we should explain the observances of the Passover thoroughly, the very last one of which is, after the Passover Seder, we do not turn to other kinds of entertainment.
And now it is the wise who want to know the service it is theirs to do. Any volunteers for a wicked person? I'm not going to use any names. And I don't see any volunteers coming forth. So I'll read the wicked person. The wicked person says, "What is this observance to you?" Since he says to you and not to us, he rejects essentials of our faith, the unity of God and the community of Israel. To him we respond sharply, "It is because of what the Lord did for me when I went forth from Egypt. For me, that is, and not for you. For had you been there, you would not have known redemption."
The wicked one withdraws himself from anything beyond himself and thus from his own redemption.
And now the simple person. The simple person asks, "What is this?" To him we say, "With a mighty arm, God freed us from Egypt, from the house of bondage."
To the person of open simplicity, give a straightforward answer, for the Torah of God makes wise the simple.
And with the person unable to ask, you must begin yourself, as it is written, "You shall tell your child on that day, saying, this is because of what the Lord did for me when I went free from Egypt." With one who has no need to know, no will to serve, you must begin yourself to awaken the need to give the will.
As in the pages of our histories, so too in the events of our time, in the encounters of our daily lives, these persons, the wise, the wicked, the simple, and the one unable to ask, reappear in various guises. To this day, their questions must be pondered and answers sought. The story gives life and meaning.
On page 33, a very fine reading about Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev said, "The Haggadah speaks of 4 sons, one wise, one wicked, one simple, and one who does not know how to ask. Lord of the world, I, Levi Yitzchak, am the one who does not know how to ask. In such a case, does not the Haggadah say that with the child who does not know how to ask, you must start with him? The father must take the initiative. Lord of the world, are you not my father? Am I not your son? I do not even know what questions to ask. You take the initiative and disclose the answers to me. Show me, in connection with whatever happens to me, what is required of me. What are you asking of me? God, I do not ask you why I suffer. I wish to know only that I suffer for your sake. There are many questions. We are now in Magid, the narration. Now we begin to answer. Me'avdut lecherut, mignut leshevach, mimalchut harisha lemalchut shamayim. Brenda?
Our history moves from slavery toward freedom. Our narration begins with degradation and rises to dignity. Our service opens with the rule of evil and advances toward the kingdom of God. This is our theme.
Avadim hayinu lefaro b'mitzrayim, v'yotzienu Adonai Eloheinu misham b'yad chazaka uvzora nituya, v'ilu lo hotzi hakodush baruch hu et avotenu mimitzrayim, hare anu uvanenu uvnei vanenu mishubadim hayinu lefaro b'mitzrayim. We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt, and the Lord freed us from Egypt with a mighty hand. Had not the Holy One, praised be he, delivered our people from Egypt, then we, our children, and our children's children would still be enslaved.
Therefore, even if all of us were wise, all of us people of understanding, all of us learned in Torah, it would still be our obligation to tell the story of the Exodus from Egypt. Moreover, whoever searches deeply into its meaning is considered praiseworthy.
For redemption is not yet complete. We continue now, please, on page number 36 toward the bottom. According to Eric Fromm, an idol represents the desire to return to the soil mother, the craving for possession, power, and fame. The history of mankind up to the present time is primarily the history of idol worship, from the primitive idols to the modern idols of the state, the leader, production, and consumption. In worshiping the idol, man worships himself, a partial, limited aspect of man, his intelligence, his physical strength, power, and fame. It's important for us to know in an existential, spiritual manner that really you and I, all of us, have been redeemed from slavery, because reaching back through the generations, had not our ancestors been rescued from slavery by Hashem, we would not be here this evening. So I always think about this in a very personal, kind of spiritual, existential manner, that it's really true. We ourselves have been redeemed, and in experiencing once again the retelling of the Haggadah, it is as though we ourselves are experiencing redemption. We have known physical bondage and spiritual servitude. We have also been subjected to social degradation. For in the eyes of others, we were a subject people, Arameans. My father was a fugitive Aramean. He went down to Egypt with meager numbers and sojourned there, and there became a great and populous nation. From the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 26, verse 5, and I hope you've noticed and remembered that so many of the verses in the Haggadah come totally from Torah, and the sources are noted in the margins of each page. A great nation on page 38.
A great nation means it was distinguished in character and tradition. Our people retained its uniqueness in Egypt. They did not alter their way of life, their convictions, their names, their heritage, their faith, their language. By virtue of this self-respect and dignity, they merited redemption.
A beautiful midrash from Mechilta Pesachim. And we continue with the reading from Edmund Flegg from many years ago. As I adjust the air conditioning, I'll let Linda read for us. I'll be right back.
I am a Jew because, born of Israel, and having lost her, I have felt her live again in me, more loving than myself. I am a Jew because, born of Israel, and having regained her, I wished her to live after me, more living than myself. I am a Jew because the faith of Israel demands of me no abdication of the mind. I am a Jew because the faith of Israel requires of me all the devotion of my heart. I am a Jew because in every place where suffering weeps, the Jew weeps. I am a Jew because every time when despair cries out, the Jew hopes. I am a Jew because the promise of Israel is the universal promise. I am a Jew because for Israel, the world is not yet completed, the men are completing it. I am a Jew because for Israel, man is not created, men are creating him. Turn off the oven.
Oh, yeah. Roasting eggs. Time to turn off the oven. Thank you, Linda.
We have yet to learn the art of roasting an egg. If anybody knows how to roast an egg easily and without a lot of trouble, please let us know. One year I didn't know how to do it at all, so I wanted the egg to look roasted. So I lit a couple of matches and held the egg up and burned the eggshell so it looks like it had been roasted. It was pretty good, actually. Are you're bringing out the egg now?
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
Exactly.
Rabbi is bringing out the egg as we sit and wait for him to come back. Here it comes. Oh, 2 eggs. Yay.
I think pretty hot, but I think they look pretty well
Pretty roasted to
roasted.
me. Woo.
I did it at 200 degrees after Linda first boiled them on the stove. I took your father Abraham, page 38, please. I took your father Abraham from across the river, and I led him into the land of Canaan. And I increased his descendants, and I gave him Isaac, and to Isaac I gave Jacob. When Jacob and his children went down into Egypt, Joseph was already in Egypt. Joseph had emerged with power over the land of Egypt. There was famine in all lands, but in the land of Egypt there was bread. And Pharaoh said to the Egyptians, "Go to Joseph, whatever he tells you, you shall do." And all the world came to Joseph in Egypt. After Joseph died and all his brothers and all that generation, a new king arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, "Look, the Israelite people are much too numerous for us. Let us then deal shrewdly with them, lest they increase and in the event of war join our enemies in fighting against us and gain ascendancy over the country." How was it possible that the new king did not know Joseph? Some commentators explained that he really did not know of Joseph. Others explained that he acted as if he did not know Joseph. He willfully closed his eyes to all that the Hebrews had done for Egypt. Led by Pharaoh, those who had formerly honored the Hebrews grew now to despise them. So they set taskmasters over them with forced labor, and they built garrison cities for Pharaoh, Pithom and Ramses. The Egyptians embittered their lives with harsh labor at mortar and brick and in all sorts of work in the fields. But the more they were oppressed, the more they increased and spread out, so that the Egyptians came to despise and dread the Israelites. So Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, "Every boy that is born shall be thrown in the Nile, but let every girl live." We cried unto the Lord, the God of our fathers, and the Lord heeded our plight, our misery, and our oppression. The beauty of this Haggadah is that now for many years we've had it, and there are newer ones and updated versions, but I really appreciate this one for the corollary readings included. And this one always tugs at my heart and my neshama, from 15-year-old Peter Fischel, who perished in Auschwitz in 1944. We got used to standing in line at 7 o'clock in the morning, at 12 noon, and again at 7 o'clock in the evening. We stood in a long queue with a plate in our hand into which they ladled a little warmed up water with a salty or coffee flavor, or else they gave us a few potatoes. We got used to sleeping without a bed, to saluting every uniform, not to walk on the sidewalks, and then again to walk on the sidewalks. We got used to undeserved slaps, blows, and executions. We got accustomed to seeing piled up coffins full of corpses, to seeing the sick amidst dirt and filth, and to seeing the helpless doctors. We got used to the fact that from time to time, 1,000 unhappy souls would come here, and that from time to time, another 1,000 unhappy souls would go away. How blessed are we to be alive today and to carry on the memory of Shoah, of Holocaust, and to do our best through our lives and our deeds and our actions that never again would such a horrific, indescribable event happen to our people or any other people. Now it's 17 years ago that I walked through Auschwitz-Birkenau with my late brother Eliyahu, Alav Hashalom, and I shall forever remember the full day that we spent there, seeing only a portion of Auschwitz-Birkenau. But it really helped hit home for me Holocaust and prompted me to continue and deepen my studies of Shoah, which I continue to teach from time to time. We're at the bottom now of page 41. God heard our moaning.
God heard our moaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And God looked upon the Israelites, and God knew.
We continue, please. And God said, we're on page 44.
And God said, I will go through the land of Egypt on that night, and I will mete out justice against all the gods of Egypt, I, the Lord. And the Lord brought us out of Egypt by a mighty hand, by an outstretched arm and awesome power, and by signs and portents, not through a messenger, not through any intermediary or any supernatural being, but the Holy One, praised be he alone.
The time the Israelites remained in Egypt was 430 years. At the end of the 430th year, to the very day, all the hosts of the Lord departed from the land of Egypt. That same night is the Lord's watch night for the children of Israel throughout their generations. We take our cup of wine, or perhaps grape juice, and we lift the cup. Baruch Shomer Havtachtoto LeYisrael Baruch Haba Vehi She'amda LaAvotenu Velanu. We praise the God who kept his faith with his people Israel. God's promise of redemption in ancient days sustains us now. For more than one enemy has risen against us to destroy us. In every generation, in every age, some rise up to plot our annihilation, but a divine power sustains and delivers us. Fahakodosh v'hakodosh baruch hu matzilenu mi'adam. a divine power sustains and delivers us. We place the cups back untasted. This reading from Anne Frank. I'll let Linda read for us, please. It's at the bottom. For more than one enemy has risen against us.
That's the difficulty in these times. Ideals, dreams, and cherished hopes rise within us only to meet horrible truth and be shattered. It's really a wonder that I haven't dropped all my ideals because they seem so absurd and impossible to carry out. Yet I keep them because in spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. I simply can't build up my hopes on a foundation consisting of confusion, misery, and death. I see the world gradually being turned into a wilderness. I hear the ever-approaching thunder which will destroy us too. I can feel the sufferings of millions, and yet if I look up into the heavens, I think that it will all come out right, that this cruelty too will end, and that peace and tranquility will return again. In the meantime, I must uphold my ideals, for perhaps the time will come when I shall be able to carry them out.
Thank you, Linda. In the presence of eyes which witnessed the slaughter, which saw the oppression the heart could not bear, and as witnessed the heart that once taught compassion until days came to pass that crushed human feeling, I have taken an oath to remember it all, to remember, not once to forget. Forget not one thing to the last generation when degradation shall cease, to the last to its ending, when the rod of instruction shall have come to conclusion. An oath, not in vain, passed over the night of the terror. An oath, no morning shall see me at flesh pots again. An oath, lest from this we learned nothing. This is the Malach HaMavet. What a scary watercolor. The Angel of Death.
Scary.
I find it quite frightening. Now we come to Makot Mitzrayim, the plagues. Our rabbis taught when the Egyptian armies were drowning in the sea, the heavenly host broke out in song of jubilation. God silenced them and said, "My creatures are perishing, and you sing praises? Though we descend from those redeemed from brutal Egypt, and have ourselves rejoiced to see oppressors overcome, yet our triumph is diminished by the slaughter of the foe, as the wine within the cup of joy is lessened when we pour 10 drops for the plagues upon Egypt." Our rabbis taught the sword comes into the world because of justice delayed and justice denied. To remember upheaval that follows oppression, we pour 10 drops for the plagues upon Egypt. Our rabbis taught God is urgent about justice, for upon justice the world depends. Each drop of wine we pour is hope and prayer that people will cast out the plagues that threaten everyone, everywhere they are found, beginning in our own hearts.
The making of war, the teaching of hate and violence, the spoliation of the earth, perversion of justice and of government, fomenting of vice and crime, neglect of human needs, oppression of nations and peoples, corruption of culture, subjugation of science, learning, and human discourse, the erosion of freedoms.
Elu eser makot shehevi hakodesh baruch hu al hamitzrim b'mitzrayim ve'elu hain. So we now pour 10 drops for the plagues upon Egypt. So we take our glass of wine. I guess it's tradition kind of use the pinky finger. And want me to pour some wine in your cup so you can do it?
That's fine.
These cups are kind of high. Can we get in there? Let's set this book down here. Okay. Push this back a little. Okay, here we go. So please join. Dam, blood. Oh, my finger get in there.
I can get mine in there. What's your problem?
I think I'm going to put a little more wine.
And I'll do it. Yay.
Dam, blood. Spardea, frogs. Keening, lice. Olive, wild beasts. Dever, light. Shechin, boils. Arba, locust. Choshech, barad, hail. Arba, locust. Choshech, darkness. Makat bechorot, slaying of firstborn. And commentaries say you can ignore that last drop, but other commentators say you can taste it. Who is like unto you, O God, among the mighty? Page 52. Who is like unto you, awesome in praises, working wonders? The Lord shall reign forever and ever. How many gifts God has bestowed upon us. Had he brought us out of Egypt and not divided the sea for us? Dainu. Had he divided the sea and not permitted us to cross on dry land? Dainu. Had he permitted us to cross the sea on dry land and not sustained us for 40 years in the desert?
Dainu.
Had he sustained us for 40 years in the desert and not fed us with manna?
Dainu.
Had he fed us with manna and not given us Shabbos?
Dainu.
Had he given us the Sabbath and not brought us to Temple Sinai? Oh, Mount, it says Temple Sinai, Lake Charles. No, and not brought us to Mount Sinai.
Dainu.
Had he brought us to Mount Sinai and not given us the Torah?
Dainu.
Had he given us the Torah and not led us into the land of Israel?
Dainu.
Had he led us into the land of Israel and not built for us the temple and helping us restore our own temple, Sinai? Dainu. Had he built for us the temple and not sent us prophets of truth?
Dainu.
Had he sent us prophets of truth and not made us a holy people? Dainu. This is where we'd always call on someone who had lots of breath for this paragraph. Actually, the real breath is needed after the exclamation mark. So I'll give it my best shot. How plentiful are the reasons for our gratitude to God for the many favors which he has bestowed upon us. He brought us out of Egypt, divided the Red Sea for us, permitted us to cross on dry land, sustained us for 40 years in the desert, fed us with manna, ordained the Sabbath, brought us to Mount Sinai, gave us the Torah, led us into the land of Israel, built for us the temple, sent us prophets of truth, and made us a holy people to perfect the world under the kingdom of the Almighty in truth and in righteousness. Did it.
Amen. You did it.
According to the Mishnah, Rabbi Gamliel said, whoever does not consider well the meaning of these three, Pesach, Matzah, Maror, has not fulfilled the purpose of the Seder. So, got to find the shank bone, darling. And I point to it, and we let everybody see it, courtesy of Joel at Kosher Cajun Deli in Metairie. Pesach, Shahayu Avotenu Ochlin Bizman Shebeit HaMikdash Kayam Al Shumma. What is the meaning of this Pesach?
In family groups, our people ate the Paschal lamb when the temple was still standing. For them, the Pesach was a reminder that God passed over the houses of our fathers in Egypt during the redemption.
In our day, too, we invoke God as the guardian of the household of Israel. As in our dwellings, we renew the family bond and strengthen our ties with the whole household of Israel. Matzah zu shanu ochlin al shumma. What is the meaning of this matzah? Of old, matzah was meant to recall that the dough prepared by our people had no time to rise before the final act of redemption. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough since they had been driven out of Egypt and could not delay, nor had they prepared provisions for themselves. To the driven of the earth we link ourselves today as we fulfill the mitzvah. For 7 days shall you eat matzah, that you remember your departure from Egypt as long as you live. Hold up the horseradish here, please. What is the meaning of this maror? It was eaten, they said, because the Egyptians embittered the lives of our people, as it is written, with hard labor at mortar and brick and in all sorts of work in the field, with all the tasks ruthlessly imposed upon them. Today as well, wherever slavery remains, Jews taste its bitterness. In every generation, each person should feel as though he or she, himself or herself, had gone forth from Egypt. As it is written, you shall explain to your child on that day, it is because of what the Lord did for me when I myself went forth from Egypt. Still we remember it was we who were slaves, we who were strangers, and therefore we recall these words as well.
You shall not oppress a stranger, for you know the feelings of the stranger, having yourselves been strangers in the land of Egypt. When a stranger resides with you in your land, you shall not wrong him. You shall love him as yourself, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt.
You shall rejoice before the Lord with your son and daughter, and the stranger and the fatherless, and the widow in your midst. Always remember that you were slaves in the land of Egypt. You shall not subvert the rights of the stranger or the fatherless. Remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt. Not only our ancestors alone did the Holy One redeem, but us as well, along with them, as it is written, and he freed us from Egypt, so as to take us and give us the land he had sworn to our fathers. We raise our cups, please. Therefore, let us rejoice at the wonder of our deliverance, from bondage to freedom, from agony to joy, from mourning to festivity, from darkness to light, from servitude to redemption. Before God, let us ever sing a new song. We put the cup down untasted as we go to Dayenu, which is in the back, and it is on page number 105. So please join in this great melody. Ilu hotzi anu mi Mitzrayim anu mi Mitzrayim Dayenu. We're on page 105. Dayenu, 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 Dayenu. Ilu natan lanu eta Shabbat Dayenu. Dayenu, 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 Dayenu. Ilu natan lanu eta Torah Dayenu. Dayenu, 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 Dayenu. What is this? Mazeh. I did show it last night. Shauna Gold was clapping. Thank you, Shauna. I love the symbol, the emoji for clapping. I showed this last night. This is Matzah Shemura, a gift to me and Linda each year, thank God, from Chabad of Baton Rouge. We have 2 pieces. This piece I was able to protect very well. The second piece has not quite made it whole, but I have pieces for it. and we take a little piece. It is really tasty. This is very special matzah. May I show you? I'll tell you. Thank you for asking. Here, let me put this back over here. It's getting ready to break.
It's a pretty box.
Linda likes the box. Next year in Jerusalem, and hand-baked shemura matzah. Shemura from lishmor, meaning guarded. Please enjoy this gift of premium handmade shmura matzah for your Seder. These shmura matzos, carefully tended to from the time of harvesting of the wheat until after baking, similar to those baked by our ancestors leaving Egypt, are called by our sages food of faith and healing. May the observance of this special mitzvah bring blessings to you and your loved ones all year long. We are here to help in any way. Please reach out to us at 225-267-7047 if there's anything we can do for you. 225-767-7047. Wishing you a kosher, happy, healthy, and joyous Passover. Rabbi Peretz and Mushka Kazin, dear friends of Linda and mine and Amy, just the most precious family here in Baton Rouge. And if I'm not mistaken, Rabbi Peretz has been more than once in our temple with our religious school to help with various rituals. And the little signpost right there says, eat meat after 8 p.m. on Saturday, March 27th, and Sunday, March 28th. Shmura matzah, next year in Jerusalem. We also want to have Miriam's cup, and we have a prayer here. I'll get Miriam's cup. Where'd Miriam's cup go? Miriam's cup. Miriam's cup is filled with water rather than wine. We invite women of all generations at our Seder tables to fill Miriam's cup with water from their own glasses. A midrash teaches us that a miraculous well accompanied the Hebrews throughout their journey in the desert, given by God because of the merit of Miriam, the prophetess. Miriam's optimism and faith also was a spiritual oasis, giving the Hebrews the confidence to overcome the hardships of the Exodus.
Like Miriam, Jewish women in all generations have been essential for the continuity of our people. As keepers of traditions in the home, women pass down songs and stories, rituals and recipes from mother to daughter, from generation to generation. Let us each fill the cup of Miriam water from our own glasses so that our daughters may continue to draw from the strength and wisdom of our heritage.
So I'll let Linda hold Miriam's cup. Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu borei ha'olam shetishim reinu u'kaimenu b'midbar chayenu imayim chayim v'titen lanu et ha'chazuk v'et ha'chochma l'da'at shetimchat geultenu nimtza b'derech chayim lo rak b'sof haderech. You abound in blessings, God, creator of the universe, who sustains us with living water. May we, like the children of Israel leaving Egypt, be guarded and nurtured and kept alive in the wilderness. And may you give us wisdom to understand that the journey itself holds promise of freedom. And we take a little sip of the water, and
You said freedom is redemption.
redemption from Rabbi Susan Schnorr.
Yeah, why would you take a sip of the water?
Well, I guess you wouldn't, but it's just you and me here, so you could take a sip. And if you don't mind, I'll take a sip.
My goodness.
And this is a good opportunity for us to tell the story of a Jewish woman that we might admire. And I can look over here at the live chat and see if perhaps we might have some names of women whom we admire. I admire so much my bride, Linda, because Linda and I have been together, not counting the year or two before we married, but this August, coming up in just a few months, we have been married, Baruch Hashem, for 57 years. Wow. And it just seems like yesterday, right, darling?
Like the day before yesterday.
Oh, the day before yesterday. And Linda's at the top of my list of women whom I admire, along with all the women in Temple Sinai congregation who help to maintain and sustain our beloved temple. And what about chametz? What is chametz? Chametz is any food product made from wheat, barley, rye, oats, or spelt that has come in contact with water and been allowed to ferment and rise. So just about anything made from these grains, other than Passover matzah, which is carefully controlled to avoid leavening, is considered chametz. This includes flour, even before it is mixed with water, cake, cookies, pasta, breads, and items that have chametz as an ingredient, like malt. Long before Passover begins, we clean our homes, offices, and any place that belongs to us to get rid of chametz. Although it's praiseworthy to be stringent on Passover, keep in mind that dust is not chametz. The main purpose of cleaning and searching for chametz is to remove any chametz that one may come to inadvertently eat or derive benefit from during Pesach. This obligation of getting rid of chametz does not extend to inedible chametz or tiny crumbs or particles of chametz that are soiled or spoiled. So the key area to focus on are things that may come in contact with food, since we are forbidden to eat anything with even a trace of chametz. On the eve of Passover, the 14th of Nisan, that would have been last night, just 24 hours before Seder, we search our property for any chametz that may have been missed in the cleaning process. The custom, of course, as many of us know, is to use a candle, feather, wooden spoon, and a paper bag for collecting any chametz found. Have someone place 10 pieces of bread throughout the home to be found during the search, so that the search is not in vain, of course. I'd like to jump especially to a spiritual aspect of chametz, which I've always found very fascinating, and in Musar studies we study this a lot. Chametz and matzah are almost the same substance, containing the same ingredients of flour and water. The one key difference is that while chametz bread rises, filling itself with hot air, the matzah is flat and humble. Chametz represents that swelling of ego that enslaves the soul more than any external prison. It is for this reason, once a year on Pesach, when we celebrate our freedom from slavery and our birth as a nation unto God, we are very careful to eradicate any chametz that we may have. So the flat, unpretentious matzah represents anavah, as we know in Musar, humility, self-effacement, and commitment that are the ultimate liberators, enabling us to connect to God without our egos getting in the way. And that is why eating matzah on Pesach is so fundamental to our faith. A beautiful, Midrash. We hope that our Seder has been meaningful for you, and we will draw toward the conclusion as we return to the liturgy itself, and we get to the page of merriment and song to celebrate the Feast of Freedom, Echad Miyodea. Who knows one? Page 80, 81. Who knows one? I know one. One is our God in heaven and on earth.
Who knows two? I know two. Two are the tables of the commandments. One is our God in heaven and on earth.
Who knows three? I know three. Three is the number of the patriarchs. Two are the tables of the commandments. One is our God in heaven and on earth.
Who knows four? I know four. Four is the number of the matriarchs. Three, the number of patriarchs. Two are the tables of the commandments. One is our God in heaven and on earth.
Who knows five? I know five. 5 books there are in the Torah. 4 is the number of the matriarchs. 3, the number of the patriarchs. 2 are the tables of the commandments. 1 is our God in heaven and on earth.
Who knows 6? I know 6. 6 sessions of Mishnah has. 5 books there are in the Torah. 4 is the number of matriarchs. 3, the number of patriarchs. 2 are the tables of the commandments. 1 is our God in heaven and on earth.
Who knows 7? I know 7. 7 days there are in a week. 6 sections the Mishnah has. 5 books there are in the Torah. 4 is the number of matriarchs. 3, the number of patriarchs. 2 are the tables of the commandments. 1 is our God in heaven and on earth.
Who knows 8? I know 8. 8 are the days to the service of the covenant. 7 days there are in the week. 6 sections the Mishnah has. 5 books there are in the Torah. 4 is the number of the matriarchs. 3, the number of the patriarchs. 2 are the tables of the commandments. 1 is our God in heaven and on earth.
Who knows 9? I know 9. 9 is the number of the holidays. 8 are the days to the service of the covenant. 7 days there are in a week. 6 sections in the Mishnah. 5 books there are in the Torah. 4 is the number of matriarchs. 3, the number of the patriarchs. 2 are the tables of the commandments. 1 is our God in heaven and on earth.
Who knows 10? I know 10. 10 commandments were given on Sinai. 9 is the number of the holidays. 8 are the days to the service of the covenant. 7 days there are in a week. 6 sessions the Mishnah has. 5 books there are in the Torah. 4 is the number of the matriarchs. 3, the number of the patriarchs. 2 are the tables of commandments. 1 is our God in heaven and on earth.
Who knows 11? I know 11. 11 were the stars in Joseph's dream. 10 commandments were given on Sinai. 9 is the number of the holidays. 8 are the days to the service of the covenant. 7 days there are in a week. 6 sections the Mishnah has. 5 books there are in the Torah. 4 is the number of matriarchs. 3, the number of the patriarchs. 2 are the tables of the commandments. 1 is our God in heaven and on earth.
Who knows 12? I know 12. 12 are the tribes of Israel. 11 were the stars in Joseph's dream. 10 commandments were given on Sinai. 9 is the number of the holidays. 8 are the days to the service of the covenant. 7 days there are in a week. 6 sessions the Mishnah has. 5 books there are in the Torah. 4 is the number of matriarchs. 3, the number of patriarchs. 2 are the tables of the commandments. 1 is our God in heaven and on earth.
Well, who knows 13, Linda?
You do.
You do.
No, I don't. I can barely do 12. It's hard.
I know 13. 13 are the attributes of God. 12 are the tribes of Israel. 11 were the stars in Joseph's dream. 10 commandments were given on Sinai. 9 is the number of the holidays. 8 are the days to the service of the covenant. 7 days there are in a week. 6 sections the Mishnah has. 5 books there are in the Torah. 4 is the number of the matriarchs. 3, the number of the patriarchs. 2 are the tables of the commandments. 1 is our God in heaven and on earth. Chad Gad Yah. My father bought for 2 zuzim. page 87. My father bought for 2 zuzim. Then came the cat and ate the kid.
My father
Bought for 2 zuzim. Chad gad ya, chad gad ya.
Then came the dog and bit the cat that ate the kid. My
Father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad gad ya, chad gad ya. Came the sick and beat the dog that bit the cat that ate the kid. Chad gad ya, chad gad ya. Then came the fire and burned the stick that beat the dog that bit the cat that ate the kid. My father bought for 2 zuzim. Gad ya, chad gad ya. Then came the water and quenched the fire that burned the stick that beat the dog that bit the cat that ate the kid. My father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad gad ya, chad gad ya. Then came the ox and drank the water that quenched the fire that burned the stick that beat the dog that bit the cat that ate the kid. My father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad gad ya, gad ya. Then came the butcher and killed the ox that drank the water and quenched the fire that burned the stick that beat the dog that bit the cat that ate the kid. My father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad gad ya, chad gad ya. Then came the angel of death and slew the butcher that killed the ox that drank the water that quenched the fire that burned the stick that beat the dog, the cat that ate the kid. My father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad gad ya, chad gad ya. Then came the Holy One, blessed be he, and destroyed the angel of death that slew the butcher that killed the ox that drank the water, quenched the fire that burned the stick that beat the dog that bit the cat that ate the kid. My father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad gad ya, chad gad ya. Kos hartza'ah, the 4th cup, the cup of acceptance. We're on page 91 at the bottom, please. As our Seder draws to an end, we take up our cups of wine. The redemption is not yet complete. The 4th cup recalls us to our covenant with the Eternal One, to the task that still awaits us as a people called to the service of God, to a great purpose for which the people of Israel lives, the preservation and affirmation of hope. As it is written, and I will take you to be my people. And we lift our cups of grape juice or wine. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. We praise you, O Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who has created the fruit of the vine. The Seder service now concludes its rites observed in full, its highest blessing sealed. Shalom, peace. Shalom for us, for everyone, for all people, this our hope.
Next year in
Jerusalem. Next year may all be free. Hoshana Haba'ah B'Yerushalayim. Next year may all be free. God of might, page 94. God of might, God of right, thee we give all glory, thine all praise in these days as in ages hoary. When we hear, year by year, freedom's wondrous story, now as erst when thou first makes the proclamation, warning loud every proud, every tyrant nation. We thy fame still proclaim, bend in adoration. Be with all who in thrall to their task are driven. In thy power speed the hour, when their chains are riven. Earth around will resound gleeful hymns to heaven. Serendipity, spirituality, synchronicity. When Rabbi Batsheva graciously loaned me 3 Haggadahs because we had packed all ours up, of course, last year. One of them that she found, or maybe she looked for it particularly, it has Rabbi Weinstein, B'nai Israel Synagogue. Synchronicity, spirituality. What was the other one? Serendipity. Serendipity, spirituality, synchronicity. My connection to Congregation B'nai Israel still continues and will continue. And before we leave you, we must crack open one of the eggs and put it in some salt water, as my dad, Alav HaShalom, always would do, because I can't have Seder without remembering. Oh my gosh, where's the salt water?
Yeah, they put it on that table.
I put it on this table. Oh, here it is. And so we want to crack open an egg. Linda's cracking open an egg. My dad would always say at this point,
why don't we do this every year?
Yeah, Linda remembers.
Or every day,
God
or every
bless
week.
him. Why don't we just do this all the time during the year? Because take a little salt water, put it right in here. And in memory of Dad, may he rest in peace. He still continues with us as my mom and Linda's wonderful mom and dad of blessed memory. And, oh, thank you. I'm going to, look how nice that came out. Roasted very well. Dip it there. You get a little yolk, Linda.
Well, I didn't have it.
Here, take that fork and get a little yolk, please.
This is no yolk.
No, the yolk's on me.
There you go.
All right. L'chaim. Why don't we do this during the year? I still think it's delish. When we were growing up, my brother Eliyahu, Eddie, Alav HaShalom, and I and Mom would always say to Dad, if he didn't remember to do it, come on, Dad. Time for you to say what you always say. Oh, look who's here.
You just gave Sandy a piece of egg.
Oh, she loves it. Maybe I can see if she'll come up and say hello. Here's Sandy.
Sandy. I'm not crazy about the matzah. Here, come back here.
Here, girl. Come on. Well, we don't want to hold you up, but Sandy does say hello. We certainly hope that all of us will be blessed with Sisson Pesach, a wonderful Pesach, a wonderful Passover. A reminder that a week from Wednesday, April 7th, we will be over at the Civic Center in Lake Charles, unloading supplies onto the tables in the Civic Center in preparation between 11 and 1 p.m. on Wednesday, April 7th, to distribute non-perishable and perishable goods, along with the peanut butter, which was given us a whole pallet from Joel Wallens, president of the synagogue in New Iberia. Will be distributing to 700 vehicles. And I think that is just so much in the spirit of Pesach. And when we said, Halach Ma'anya, this is the poor bread. Let all who are in need come and eat. By this wonderful mitzvah of distribution of groceries to those in need, we will be helping carry out that mitzvah. That's Wednesday, April 7th, arriving at the Civic Center at 9 a.m., unloading everything onto tables. It will all be organized with the tremendous guidance and leadership of United Way of Southwest Louisiana. And then the boxes will be designated for each car because they'll go to each car and check to see how many families we are distributing to, and the boxes will then be brought out and the vehicles will come through. I'm so glad that we've built this function around the peanut butter. Everybody will get a jar of peanut butter, of course. And we've gone to Kiwanis, where I am now happily and gratefully a member. Joel is a past president. Randy First is a past president. And I think Maurice Gold is a past president. And I'm so glad to help carry on the tradition of Temple Sinai's involvement with our Lake Charles Kiwanis. And Kiwanis will be very actively involved in this as well. Good Yontif, everyone. Chag Sameach, Passover. May this Passover usher in our liberation, God willing, from servitude to pandemic. And may we very soon be able to hug and embrace and be together once again in our restored temple. God bless you all. We love you all. And send greetings and love for Pesach. Good Yontif. Chag Sameach. Bye. Having a good piece of matzah, huh?
Right. Can you have a piece of matzah?
Of course, of course. Bye-bye. Love you.